Hello! Hello, everybody. Welcome. Today we are talking... Hold on. Today we are talking about Things Fall Apart by Chichua Achebe. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm loving this book so far. I think it's extremely interesting. I'm really enjoying it. So let's do this first. What are everyone's first thoughts of this book? Give me 1 second, guys. Give me 1 second. Jeez. Sorry. Okay. You don't like it. Okay. Not loving it so far. I'm not loving it, but I'm going to stick with it. Hat. Yeah, I'm wearing a hat. Why is it weird if I always wear this hat? I feel torn about it, but easy to read, but hard to figure out where the author's going with it. Okay. It's okay. I was waiting for this live because I don't know what to think about this book. It's interesting, but I know not only the story, I guess, can't reach everyone's opinion. It's one of those things where I want to watch it, not read it, if that makes sense. I was about to say I want it to be a movie. Intriguing, keeps pulling my interest. Interesting book, you can't really see where the story's going. Haven't started it yet. I couldn't get into the book. Stella, I'm trying to do a reading thing. No, you can't go outside. It's really hard to follow the story. It's interesting. Okay, Annie Hansen, everyone. I think it's very interesting that you guys are all trying to figure this out. You know, I'm eating a pickle. I hope people don't mind. Don't like it, but I'm curious what will happen next. Okay. For all the people that don't like it, can you give me a clearer reason why? I don't like it because this. And if you do like it, give me a reason why. Like, I really enjoy the way the author writes. I really like my personal opinions. I'm really finding it fascinating, the world that we're becoming a part of. This tribe in Nigeria. I'm loving that. It's a world that I'm not familiar with. We're learning about its customs. We're learning about the ways of life. And we're following a conquo. What do you mean stop eating at the lives? I can eat at the lives if I want. Overcompensating for his father. Absolutely. What was the question? I missed the first minute because I was taking my dog out. The question was like, what do you think of the book? And give me a reason. I love the opinions of I like it or I don't. But I want more. Why? Well, what is different from this book that you don't like compared to other books? Or that you do like compared to the other books? Now, this book is widely considered one of the most famous novels to come out of Africa. It was one of the first novels to start, I think, modern African literature. And it's actually the first book in a series of 3. We're going to have our whole section where we talk about the author in the next live when we're finishing the book. We'll talk about the author and everything so everyone knows. Right now, I'm just trying to get our first ideas. This book is one of the... If I'm not wrong, it's one of the only books that we're reading, or we have read so far, that deals with colonialism in a way, where right now we're seeing this tribe completely untouched by that, and everything else we read about is in our current, like either in the U.S. or at our time, or it's an interesting book, and I think it's definitely one of the most different ones we've read. I had to scroll down to the bottom, guys. Sorry. Can we scroll up to about here? Too many complicated names. I will agree with that. I bet some of you are making like a list of these names to kind of keep track. I advise to keep doing that. I don't like it because I can't feel or connect with the characters. All right, Rena, why don't you feel that you can connect with the characters? That's a very awesome thing to realize, but I want to know why. What do you think it is that makes it hard to connect? What are the differences in the experience? Society is fascinating. The author's mind is fascinating. Born to be in fandoms. Love that. Never heard of her. Chichua Achebe is a man. Alberto being feisty today. A little bit. I'm sorry. Okay, if I am being feisty today, it's because I woke up at 8 because I needed to register to vote. So I went to the DMV and I got back from the DMV 20 minutes ago and I got there at 8 in the morning. So you can imagine it's 1 p.m. I got there at 8:35, 8:40. So it was a very long day in the DMV. Okay, I like it, but since I'm not very familiar with the culture and traditions, I'm very confused. Okay, the names are complicated. Had to make a list. I think that's the easiest way to do it. The names are complicated. I tend to look back and be like, okay, so this person's name we've read. Okay, cool. And that's how I'm keeping track. One of the reasons why I have to admit I'm a little behind. I didn't finish the reading for this week. So I'll be talking about what I know. If you guys have other parts, all good. Don't worry about spoilers. I did this to myself. I'm really enjoying it. I love what we're getting, a window into a completely different culture, and I'm interested to see where it goes. I agree. The writing is similar to The Alchemist in the way the story is being told. Cool. Very cool, thing to notice. I'm happy because today I'm having the opportunity to join the live. Oh, well, welcome back! I like the book because we learn more about other cultures, about the way of thinking. I find it harder to connect with the characters than I have with all the books we've read. These characters are very different from a lot of the characters we've read. I think we're supposed to see a lot of Okonkwo's faults in this first. That's how I feel. We were telling about how great of a person and how great of a warrior and how great of a man he is in this culture, but we're also we're seeing a lot of other things where his pride gets in the way and other pitfalls that are, I think, going to cause a lot of problems in the second half of the book. That's my prediction. I feel so distant from the world of the story, even though the writing is good. Okay, that makes sense. I wouldn't say it's a bad book. It's very interesting. The last 2 chapters we had to read for today. See, I didn't read those last 2 chapters, so if we could keep comments in those last chapters to a minimum, all good. But like I said, spoilers, I did this to myself. Yes, we're definitely recognizing a very different culture than that of our own. One where that is more traditional in the sense of the gender-specific roles that are given to the people of these smaller tribes, and then we're also seeing these, this different, very toxically masculine lead character, but also not toxically masculine, I guess. But then there are things within. Yeah, I guess I could say that. Liking it so far. There's a lot of names. I like it. I'm going to scroll down. I'm skipping a few because I went back up. Have I read about Okonkwo's daughter? Yes. I've gotten to the part where she's gotten sick, and I've finished the part where they had her find the rag that contained the pebble that she said was hers, that was going to free her mother from the curse of this evil spirit that would kill child after child. So, I guess because I don't know what their problems or motivations, I don't know what their motivations are or problems. The things that the characters give me are kind of roles that they play, but nothing that shows their true hopes, wishes. See, I would argue with that, Verena Lightwood, because I feel like we found Okonkwo who feels this tremendous pressure and burden to make something of himself in a culture where that is how someone is judged. And he came from his father, who was not seen as a man of any importance in that community, a person who did not earn their place at all. He was seen as a debtor. He owed people money. He was seen as lazy. He just played the flute. He couldn't harvest. Couldn't take care of his family. He couldn't fulfill the basic things to be considered a functioning person in that society, and then a functioning man, which also had something else. And Okonkwo felt and I think constantly feels the burden of his father's miscomings and his father's shortcomings. So I think his goals are always to not only wear that of being this strong, take care of men, but also making sure and having the goal of doing whatever he feels necessary to make sure that his family succeeds him and continues to move in that direction of becoming better and, being a respectable person, taking care of their family, and a person of wealth and wisdom and all of these, and a warrior. So I think a lot of his motivation, or a lot of the things he does, I think are motivated from that need to be better than. And that's what I find is, I think, motivating. Everyone else in the town is just living their role within the town, what they believe is they should be doing. I'm enjoying the story, but I have massive issues with gender roles in the culture at the moment. Tish Skywalker, I completely agree. I think it's fascinating that I like the fact that we're at a point in our society where we all can recognize that, and we can all talk about how different, thank God, how different that is, and how things are changing. But yeah, very specific culture that we're entering in with this book. It does make sense. Yes, everything everyone's saying is making sense. I think I couldn't get into the book because I didn't have the time with... Oh my goodness. Well, congratulations having a baby. That's amazing. It'd be interesting to know more about the current culture as this was written in 1958. I wonder how much it has changed, if at all. That is a fascinating question that, Kat Parker, I would like you to find out the answer to for our next live. If you could just get a couple sentences being like, actually the culture is different, the culture is the same, the culture is based in this. If you could do that, that'd be awesome. What else? I think the author is trying to introduce all the characters and show all their past mistakes and struggles so we can understand them better. Anna Kat Fernandez, it's a really cool idea. You think he's trying to show us all these people, showing us their shortcomings, showing us their strengths, so that we start to kind of root for them. Interesting. Okay, well, I was really far behind, so I'm going down a little farther. In chapter 2, in chapter 2, he also says he doesn't want to be weak like his father, and that his goal is to hate everything his father liked and everything he loved. Exactly. So his Sarah Rosende, yeah, Sarah Rosende is my cousin. Yeah, why are you asking? Christina Vega? But Anna Kat Fernandez, yes. So I think there's a very clear image. So I want everyone to take that and put that in their mind. What is his goal? In chapter 2, what the author said. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Because this is also something, think about how early on it's being established. So I think that's something that's going to be changing. Here we go. So back to this whole thing of, well, what does Okonkwo really want? Okonkwo ruled his household with a heavy hand. His wives, especially the youngest, lived in perpetual fear of his fiery temper, and so did his little children. Perhaps, down in his heart, Okonkwo was not a cruel man, but his whole life was dominated by fear. The fear of failure and of weakness. It was deeper and more intimate than the fear of evil, and capricious gods and of magic. The fear of the forest and of the forces of nature, malevolent, red in tooth and claw. Okonkwo's fear was greater than these. It was not external, but lay deep within himself. It was the fear of himself, lest he should be found to resemble his father. Even as a little boy, he had resented his father's failure and weakness. And even now, he still remembered how he had suffered when a playmate had told him that his father was Agbala. That was how Okonkwo first came to know that Agbala was not only another name for a woman, it could also mean a man who had taken no title. And so, Okonkwo was ruled by one passion. to hate everything his father, Unoka, had loved. One of those things was gentleness, and another was idleness. So he made an active decision to be like, I am not going to do anything like that in a culture that only teaches men to behave, respect, think a certain way. Okay, I'm a little far behind, so I'm scrolling back to the bottom. Sorry, guys. Okay. There's a message when he kills the boy. How often do people do things they disagree with because they're afraid to go against the grain or be seen as weak? I found it quite sad. I agree. I think that was actually one of the most heartbreaking. That was definitely one of the most. That part of the book was heartbreaking for me because he did see this man. He saw this boy as his son. And that's how deeply rooted that fear is, that he was willing to raise a hand and raise a hand in the aid of killing this boy that he saw as his son to not seem weak. That kind of gives us a whole perspective into Okonkwo in another way, but at the same time it kind of put a curse on him. That's what I think. How can he think gentleness is wrong? Okay. I mean, I know, but it's dumb. I agree, but what we're seeing also here is how cultural ties, where people come from, play such a huge role, right? So that's one thing. We're going to have a lot more to talk about that next slide. This boy deserved much better. I agree 100%. That part really put the culture into perspective for me. That was where the author set out the clear expectations of the characters, specific male and female. Fascinating, right? I thought this book would be about this boy changing him for the better. Wrong I was. I feel like everyone's trying to make predictions about what the book's about right away, which I think we all kind of do because we're all trying to be like, what's going on? What is this world? With this one, I find myself kind of being led through the story as if I'm being, I feel as though I'm being told the story in person. And I have no idea where it's going. But I know I feel like it's going to be a book about learning. I'd like to see time skip and see how Okonkwo has affected his children, if there are any similarities in how they view him and how he views his father. Well, I mean, Triforce of Dragons, I think we can kind of see it in his son, who was very upset when they killed the boy from the other town. I feel like there's this sort of respect that then leads to like some sort of like, I can't think of the words right now, I'm sorry. What's the word I'm thinking of? It leads to some sort of... I think it leads to more fear. I think this book is really inspiring because by reading it we can realize that in our society there are still many people influenced by prejudice. Yes. Yes, in chapter 8 and 9 we see Okonkwo in a more human way because of Inkeme. I'm not going to try to pronounce that name. But yes, I think that's one thing we're seeing is this theme that other people humanize Okonkwo in a way. He just can't express things. He has a special place in his heart for his daughter that is ill. He has a special... It's interesting. I'm fascinated by this book. Oh no, all your notes. It's okay. If you get them, let me know. What's the deal with Azima? When they say she's come to stay, I feel like she's special somehow. I don't know, but I like her character. Well, remember we read that she had that whole episode where they led her to the pebble and she was like, yes, this is that spirit. And then they said now she was going to survive and all of this. But I think she has a special place also because she is special, because she's the one child that softens Okonkwo. She's the one child that he's like, I can't say no to her. Why do they keep him alive for 3 years then kill him? I don't know. The names are a common problem. Yes, they're all difficult for us. But that's okay. We're working on it. Okay. Azima and the whole story about, I want to say a Gunje, but I don't know how to pronounce that word. But yes, how she is that. I think it's interesting. I also want to know, like, how she knew that there was going to be, remember, they dug that hole all the way to the bottom. Like, they were hidden in the hole. People couldn't see them. They knew that they were digging. That scared me. Why did she know that was there? How did she know that there? What spiritual connection is there? There's something going on that we don't really know about. I picked this book because I've heard a lot of great things about it. Everyone that's read it said it was just a fascinating novel. And then I also got the idea from The Great American Read, which I've talked about before. So I got it from there, did some research, asked people about it. A lot of people I know had read it. I'm pretty sure Tessa had read it. So I was like, okay, we'll put that on the list. That's why. Also, I knew it was different. It was from a Nigerian author, one of the first Nigerian authors to gain international acclaim. Sold over 8 million copies worldwide. It was a very popular book, and it's often regarded as one of the most widely read African novels. So that's why I was like, okay, let's dive in. That was why I this whole thing about a woman should be and what a man should be is making me angry. We can look at it that way, we can get angry, or we can look at it and try to understand where they were coming from, and then see what we would like to see. Be like, okay, well, good. In our world, we don't see that anymore, but wow, that was how it was back then. Wow, can you believe that? We can study it, we can look at it, we can analyze it, we can see what are the things that lead to these types of ideas. Maybe she's a future oracle? Maybe. It's crazy. I definitely should reread this book. Maybe after this talk, it'll be easier to understand the characters. Maybe you'll come to the same conclusion and be like, nope, still don't like it, which is totally fine. Everyone knows that you're allowed to not like books, you're allowed to have opinions on art, you're allowed to, but the challenge is to figure out why, and to see if it's something personal, or if it's something that just general. I know there are certain books for me that I'm just like, and I know which books they're gonna be now. But I never say no, I always try it, either way. Most of the books we've read so far had pieces of their society we can relate to it. This book, the culture, society, and way of life is much different than ours. Harder to relate to our characters and story. In my opinion, this is one of the best books we read. I'm excited. When Okonkwo held his gun to one of his wives, I was scared. See, and this is where you see, like, a lot of these faults, this brash anger, this pride, that he almost killed his wife. And mother of one of his children, like, he has some spanning to do. Okonkwo's affection for Azima is evident when he says she should have been a boy. To me, this shows his human side, and a side that has not been repressed by the gender roles of that society. I agree. Zulu tells Okonkwo to have no part in the boy's death. Do you think we'll see consequences to that later on? I think absolutely. I think everything we've seen has been a consequence, you know? Okonkwo's father was a certain way, and as a consequence to that, Okonkwo is the way he is. And as a consequence to that, he's received many blessings, but he's also created many thorns for himself. And as a consequence to that, he lashes out, weak of peace, and as a supposed consequence to that, he's probably going to be punished. So there's that, and that's what I'm gathering. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Until yet, it's still reading the book. It's not catching me so far like the other books, except the parts about Azima and the boy. Okay, cool. Okay, I remember something I wrote down. I liked reading about the practice of sharing palm wine and nuts. I found that... Okay, we'll finish that one in a sec. What happened to my ceiling? That's what my ceiling looks like. He has a lot of anger accumulated, which he needs to find a better way to release it since he's hurting his family, and he needs to figure that out himself. He also has no humility. He fought for everything he earned, and he wants to show, and that they comment on his humility. And that's the thing, we're finding the society commenting on little things here and there, little faults that no one can stand up to Okonkwo because of what he's earned, but they're saying them. And I think he's going to have to figure that out for himself. Do I think he's a bad man? No, I don't think he's a bad man. I don't judge Okonkwo like that. If we look at a man like Okonkwo as a bad man, and we immediately label him as such, I think we're less likely to help or to root for him. We're less likely to try to teach or learn from him. So I think we need to make sure we always stay open to learn from our characters. In life and in books. And in art. I think it's fascinating that he had such a flawed main character. I really liked how the author really doesn't hold back in showing Okonkwo's darker side instead of the hero figure that Triforce of Dragons. High five. Just a man affected by his fears in his society. I think he's a broken man, and because of his past, he grew up with a wall between him and the world. So he doesn't get hurt again. Yes. I think he's very conflicted. It's hard to root for him sometimes, though. I'm finding that I'm disappointed by him. I'm rooting for him, but I'm like, everyone talks about you as a certain way. I expect more from him. And not more in the way that I think he would expect. I think we expect more from him in what I guess we could call, by today's standards. No, you should be more humble. You should be more gentle. You should be more kind. Maybe that's why people aren't getting into it, because people are seeing their own flaws in him. I think people are also seeing the flaws of the world today in him, very much so, and I think under more of a magnifying glass than possibly at other times in our history. Maybe gender roles were still more present. I think that's one of the things, is that we're coming from a perspective that's very, very fresh, and very much kind of like we're past that point now. Now we're looking back at that. We're not still looking that eye to eye. That's in the rearview mirror. It's still there, unfortunately, but our generation is making sure that it's in the rearview mirror until it eventually disappears. I want to root for him, but I don't know how, because he's a flawed main character. I mean, few of the characters we've read have been flawed. But yeah, I understand that completely. They talk about catchphrases with their ancients, like handmaids did with each other, like with praise be, may the Lord open. In the intro, Achebe's characters do not seek our permission to be human. They do not apologize for being complex, or for being African, or for being human, or for being so extraordinarily alive. Thank you for that, Cat Parker. My book does not have an introduction. I feel gypped. And also I got pickle juice on my book. But yes, and I think that's very evident in what everyone's commenting on right now. The position of women is so different too. Like, they're obviously looked down on, but they also have the power to just up and leave their husband for someone else, like Okonkwo's did. I think she only had that power because she was going to Okonkwo. I don't think you can go to anyone. For me, I think that was because it was specifically him. I know, right? It's not a bad smell. It's not a bad smell. In a way, the characters are striving for something. They're all striving to be accepted, to be a good man, to be a good woman. It just looks bad to us because our society is different from theirs. Now, Tish Skywalker, I want to ask that question. How many of our other characters were striving for something? All of them. All of them. I mean, in To Kill a Mockingbird, Atticus was striving to be a good man himself, a good father, caregiver, teacher. I think Scout was striving to understand. I think if we go, Kilgore Trout was striving to survive. And then if we go to Billy Pilgrim, he was striving to disconnect, maybe. I don't know. But we can find that idea of what each character is striving for. I think these characters are beautifully written. I don't know. I'm really loving this book. I forgot. Okonkwo is known as a strong man, but his whole life was dominated by fear. It's interesting. Very interesting. They're all striving to be right and justified. They were all striving for something and were flawed by they beating women and children and kill boys. I just think it's so interesting, this book. Because I feel like it's really a window into another world, and I feel like, I agree that I feel like I should be watching it, but at times I get that sense when I'm reading it. Do you guys ever have that where you're reading and you fall into like a hole, and then you come out and you're like, and you're like, oh my gosh, I swear I was just seeing everything, and then you realize that you're reading words? This happens a lot with this book for me. Each book we've read in this book club has had characters that are written in such a good way, like you can almost feel like you're watching down on the characters. I think Nzima got sick as a consequence of Okonkwo's bad actions. I agree. After the boy's death and Okonkwo went to go talk to Oberika, he made a good point. He said that Okonkwo should have stayed home, and it wouldn't have been his hand that killed this boy. I agree. I'm glad that talking about it's helping you put ideas together. That's why I think book clubs and discussions about art are always very positive. They help give one perspective, they help give depth, because you get other perspectives that give different levels of understanding and ideas, and I think it's always very important. When is this book set? I believe it was written in 1958. The book was written in 1958. But it is set in pre-colonial southeastern part of Nigeria. So that means what means you saying is modern time? I think it is modern time. The next live we're gonna have that whole discussion about when the book was written and stuff, so we can start to give a lot more context to this entrance into this story. I think it's very clear. It builds such a vivid picture without being overly wordy. You can see the characters and almost hear them talking. It's actually pretty brilliant. I feel like I can almost, like, when they're talking about the yams, I feel like I can smell them. You're still working on the same pickle? You know I am. So I didn't notice there was a film. A 1971 film. Cool. My cat's here. She's hanging out. Yes, there's a film, a 1971 film, so you know I will be watching that when we finish this book, because I'm very excited about that. Well, President Mariana answered. I agree. Alright, do we want to talk about quotes? I will say that as a guy that grew up, when I grew up, there still are gender roles being pushed on people. And seeing like toxic masculinity in this way, like the parts about only men can only, remember they have the whole point where they talk about how a Kwanko can only show anger. That's the only emotion that a man can show. That's so sad. It's so difficult to me. I couldn't imagine living in that bubble where all I could ever show was angry, but anything else I could feel, I had to stop. I feel a million things, and angry is maybe so small percentage. Imagine how much he's hiding, how much he's holding in of fear. Ugh. To show affection was a sign of weakness. The only thing worth demonstrating was strength. A heart can survive general failure because such failure does not prick its pride. It is more difficult and more bitter when a man fails alone. Whew. Wow, that is a great quote. I look for quotes, I look for things that inspire me. Annie Henson, I do too. But also I look for those things that get a rise out of me. So like, inspiring things inspire me because I'm immediately like, wow, I feel so inspired. But if someone makes me feel just as angry, I like to write that quote down. Or just as upset or confused or frustrated. If you get me to feel something because of a quote, I want to analyze it. What is it about that? Why am I why am I in direct combat with that quote? Why do I accept it so readily? I like asking all these questions. I'm going to go back to the quotes. Do not despair. I know you will not despair. You have a manly and a proud heart. A proud heart can survive a general failure because such failures does not prick its pride. There is no story that is not true. Yeah, all the stories are true. Nah, I don't want to hold on to the negative. Okay, you do you. His whole life was dominated by fear, the fear of failure and weakness. I mean, I just think what I'm feeling Achebe is doing with Okonkwo is they're setting up this person who we all recognize as flaws and recognizing how difficult it would be for him to change or to learn. And directly putting us up against that, being like, hey, here's our main guy. Here's how everyone sees him. Here's how he sees himself. Here's how we see him because of this truth and this, all of these things, right? And now, I think they're going to test him and see if he can grow. That's my guess. No matter how prosperous a man was, if he was unable to rule his women and his children, especially his women, he was not really a man. I think that's sarcastic. You totally agree with this? But that's another pressure placed upon the men of this community. And another part of that gender role is they had to behave this way. Hey Stella, what are you eating? Psst. Excuse me. There's nothing. So is the part, since I survived that year, I shall survive anything. He put down his inflexible will. He put down to his inflexible will. But doesn't an inflexible branch snap in a storm? Yo, Cat Parker profound, yes! Wow. I think that's the point. But yes, like, you saying that made me feel like that was definitely there for that reason. I think you nailed that, Cat Parker. Saudis want people to be different because if they are, then they're not as easy to control, and like someone who will conform and be who they're told to be. I agree. What you have done will not please the earth. It is the kind of action for which the goddess wipes out whole families. I hope I'm right too. I want him to come out better than, I want him to be better. His strength that he's demonstrated, his determination, and his determination make me believe that he has the strength, the ability to change. Now it's up to him. Everyone good? Okay. Our elders say that the sun will shine on those who stand before it shines on those who kneel. I love that. To show affection was a sign of weakness. The only thing worth demonstrating was strength. It chases at you. For real. Yeah, I can't find the failing alone. I hadn't seen the failing alone quote either. Oh, wow. We only have like 10 minutes left, guys. The oldest man present said sternly that those whose psalm kernels were cracked for them by a benevolent spirit should not forget to be humble. The time went really fast today, so we are going to start wrapping up right now. We're going to talk about how we're going to finish this book. I am going to be, some of you might see me this weekend, because I'm going to be in London. So I will see you guys in London if any of you guys are going to be there in Comic-Con. I'm very excited. I love London. I think it's an amazing city. And I love the food there. I love the people there. I love England. I think it's a really fun place to go. Comic-Con is always great. It's always amazing to meet new people and see old people that I know some of the fans are going to be there. So I will get back to you on whether or not we're going to have the live on Monday or Tuesday. Because Saturday, Sunday, I'll be at Comic-Con all day. Monday or Tuesday will be the next one. So I hope you guys get ready. Also, who's Carrie? Get ready for your present. I really appreciate all the presents. Don't get me wrong. I love them. Just know that I have one suitcase and I cannot bring everything home. And it costs a lot of money to ship things home from Europe to the United States. I did that last time with my stuff from Milan. And it was a lot. So if you guys want to give me gifts, I'm never going to say no. I'm never going to turn them down. Just be aware that the bigger gifts, the gifts that might be food that don't travel well, unless you know that I'm going to eat it right there or like destroy it in a couple days, but the stuff that doesn't travel well, just be mindful, and notes and things that are easier to keep and put away and store in spaces are a lot better. So just leave that out there, because that would be great. Now back to this book. We will finish the book for the next time that we talk about it. Think about it Monday or Tuesday. Also, I will be reaching out to one of you to join us on that live on Monday to tell us a little about the author, Chichu Achebe. Tell us a little about the book, Things Fall Apart, and a little bit about this world. So I'll be reaching out to one of the Rosende Reads book club fans, or one of the book club members, and you will be joining me on the live to talk about this book. As Tessa Masi is saying, English chocolate is always welcome. Thank you, T. Cause Tessa will be with us in London, so she'll be there as well. I don't know if she wanted me to say that or not, but she will be, so that's why that English chocolate comment was there. But okay. I'm gonna let everyone go. Enjoy your week. Remember to continue being curious, continue questioning things, continue searching for answers, and continue being positive forces of change in your environment. For anyone that's American out there, now is the time to register to vote. If you live in the state of California, as I do now, today is the last day to register, so get to your DMV. You can register online, but you might not receive what you need in time. I would recommend getting your butt to the DMV before they close. Very fast. We need to vote. If you have a different disagreement with what's going on in your society, but you take no action with your voice, or you take no action with your voice and what the powers that you do have, then you have no right to complain. So get out there, register to vote. For all the people that are American, for all the people that are not, have faith, because there are people like us who are allies, who believe in love and believe in all the beautiful things in the world, who are going to use their voices in the next month to vote and become an active part in the future that we want to see, become a positive change. So I will see you guys soon. If I see you at Comic-Con, I'll see you there. If I don't, I'll see you next time. I'll see you either Monday or Tuesday. Remember, I'll update that. I'm also going to post a story soon with all of the books that we've read, just so that new members can be like, oh, they've read these books, and old members can be like, oh, I missed this book. Well, what book did we read? So I'll do that as well, but we'll talk about that later. Guys, have a great Monday. Have a great week. Continue being positive forces for change in your environment. Goodbye, guys. And remember, we're finishing the book. See you next time.